Hello relatives, welcome to this week's Schlag Bite for the week September 1st, 2008, entitled Ayahuasca Vision. During my recent Peru trip, I had the opportunity to do something that's been on my bucket list, to explore the Amazon beyond the river towns and go into the real jungle, to hear it, to feel it, to see the wildlife, and to participate in an ayahuasca ceremony with an authentic shaman. I arranged for a 2-day trip up into the headwaters of the Amazon in a dugout canoe. I went with 5 friends, all fellow clowns, up the Arapa River into Quechua Indian country. On the way, we saw egrets and herons, kingfishers, fish eagles, toucans, a million butterflies, and huge flying insects. We watched the famed pink river dolphins, saw turtles, and fishermen netting piranhas. We got to the lodge, which was an elevated wooden shack, after 6 hours, and that's where the ceremony was going to be held. And there we met the ayahuasquero, the shaman, whose name really is Don Juan, a 67-year-old Quechua Indian, descendant of generations of shaman. Don Juan was not more than 5'6" tall, vigorous, smiling, and engaging, and he invited us to go to his farm. He wanted to show us how the sacred ayahuasca vine grew and how he prepared it. So we piled back into the dugout canoe to meet his family and to walk in his fields. He showed us lots of therapeutic plants, bugs, frogs, and at the sacred vine, he lit a cigarette and blessed it and blessed us. Don Juan asked if any of us had ever taken ayahuasca before. One of us had, and he summarized for us what the experience might be like. He said we might get sick to our stomachs, but if we did, to keep sitting up, just let it out, because only after we let it out could we see something new. Ayahuasca, which means devil vine in the Quechua language, cleanses the body by unleashing a parasympathetic cascade that induces vomiting. It can cause diarrhea, you sweat profusely, and can even become immobilized. Don Juan said you had to let go of all that stuff that's trapped inside in order to make room to see things more clearly. It is the plant chakruna, which is added to the ayahuasca mixture, that induces the visions. And it was my hope that I might see deeper into the mind's mystery, always my interest. It was completely dark when we began. A half hour before, I could hear the shaman vomiting outside. Don Juan took the ayahuasca before we did to prepare himself. And that was the first time I felt a bit queasy, that maybe it might be a little more than feeling sick to my stomach. We gathered in the 10 by 20 foot shack, which contained 6 mosquito-netted beds, 1 toilet, and a sink. We sat in a small circle on the floor. In its center, a candle burned. Don Juan lit a cigarette and blew the smoke over a large jar that contained the ayahuasca chakruna mixture. He filled a juice glass, a little less for the women, and passed it to each of us in succession. When we were all done drinking, he picked up a fan, his shakapa, made of branches with tiny leaves, and waved out the flame. Don Juan began to whistle a tune, and mixed with the sounds of the jungle night, it was an entrancing lullaby. Made me think about my mother around the Sabbath lights. Within 30 minutes I was feeling a little woozy, and the sounds got a little blurry, and in another 10 minutes the first round of nausea seized me. I got really sick. I mean, no orifice remained inactive, and my legs trembled so that I couldn't hardly stand. I was sweating profusely and quite thirsty. I asked for water. A helper brought me a glass, but Don Juan told me not to drink it, so I dutifully put it down next to me. But after another 20 minutes of continued fluid loss, I was even more lightheaded, so I asked for water again, and Don Juan said again not to drink it because it would only make me sicker. I'm thinking, I'm a doctor. He's a jungle shaman. I'm fluid depleted. My circulating volume is down. My heart, lungs, and brain are stressing out. I need water. It's pitch black. He can't see me. I'll just pick up the glass. So I reach over to where I put it down, but it's not there. The glass is gone. And it's finally clear to me that I am in the middle of the jungle, and that maybe this shaman knows something that I don't. As soon as I saw that, it wasn't 15 minutes before the vomiting stopped, and then I lay down. I saw animals who came walking by. I could speak to them all, understood the language, but now I can't recall a single conversation. There were no celestial lights surrounding a heavenly throne, welcoming me to the promised land. My great vision was how hard it is for me to let go and trust that somebody other than me is going to get me through the night. I don't know why it's so hard for me to get this through my head. I mean, I had thought that I'd already learned this over the last several years with my recent encounters with diseases and losses. But the truth is that whenever I face personal crises, I always prefer to have the paddle to the canoe in my own hands. To tame my ego, to let go, I have to be wrenchingly sick and prostrate before I trust that something or someone other than myself will get me through the night. It shouldn't have to be this hard to understand that the only way we ever get control is when we give it up. I appreciate always the reminder. So that's what I'm thinking this week. Have a great Labor Day weekend. Remember, we're all connected. Nobody makes it alone. Take a look at the pictures. I say this for all my relations. Queasiness.